Running Man is one of our more stunning, I think, specimens. Just by the way, he's almost seems to be running right out of his muscles. You know, he's
in a severe lean kind of thing, in a running kind of, almost like he's just coming out of the blocks.
Exactly, like he's just out of the blocks and he's just starting off, and his muscles are sort of flayed. If you look over here,
his left hand is outstretched. He's got his right hand behind. Right
over here, all of his muscles have been flayed just a little bit and peeled back, so you can see what lies behind each muscle. See how each one's connected and each one's layered on top of the other like that.
And this, going back to the Achilles tendon, why is this so huge? Is this the Achilles tendon?
This is the Achilles tendon right here, down over here. Now this is actually a very interesting thing.
Oh, so the Achilles tendon is not the...
No, it's not the entire calf muscle. It's just what it's connected to.
I see. So I've been describing it wrong then. Okay. So
yeah. Now you see this right here. This is your sciatic nerve running down right here. This is a very, very important nerve.
To ligaments or what? Well.
Yeah, no, this is a nerve ending actually, and this is the thing, you know, gives a lot of people a lot of problems.
And coming through here.
So a lot of people who come through here is like, that's why I have the limp or what have you. You know?
And the sciatic nerve comes from just around the maximum gluteus. Would that be correct?
Yeah, I would.
And it comes down and it ends right
all
at the
way
heel.
Down here. Now look, I'll show you. Now there's a lot of people who are into something called reflexology, where you have a lot of nerve endings, a lot in your ears, and a lot in the bottom of your foot as well. And if you look at the bottom of this foot, you can see all these nerve endings right here. And each one, like people who are in the know of what this reflexology does and how to work it, they can push on this and say, okay, we're going to affect your liver on this one over here, and this one's going to, help you, digest a little better and things like that. So they can push on each one of these things.
They're sort of like threads.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at threads, so whatever they apply pressure to.
Yeah, and they're all bundled here in the bottom of the foot like that.
So reflexology is the real deal.
Yeah. Oh,
okay.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting thing. I think a lot of people subscribe to it because it's something that works for them. It's in their head that it works. So I think that's one of the important things.
Okay, we're going to take a really quick break. We're going to take a really quick break right now. I'm just going to check my sound, and then we'll be right. I'm going to turn the tape over, and then we'll be right back. Again, you're listening to Visions, a series of visits to almost everywhere. We're at South Street Seaport in New York City. We're at the Bodies.The exhibition, and our host and guide is
Richard Hinojosa.
Richard Hinojosa, and we are these programs are being made available exclusively through the Library of Congress, National Library Service for the Blind and Physically Handicapped. They will be mastered down and sent on to your libraries for your enjoyment. Let's take a quick break. I'm going to check my tape, turn it over, and then we'll be right back. Okay, we're back on tape. Obviously, the sound is great. Richard, you're sounding great. Everything is wonderful. It's great ambience here. Great
lighting, I think.
And great lighting in here. And we're back on tape. And I'm just looking at a note over here on the wall. These are 3 types of muscle tissue. Skeletal muscle moves the bones. Cardiac muscle moves the heart. Smooth muscle moves the blood, food, and fluids through your body. Okay, so these are 3 types.
So what you're looking at here, of course, is your cardiac muscle. Examples of the cardiac muscle. You can see a little window that they cut out there so you can see how the cardiac muscle is layered. Okay, and then you'll see some of the examples of smooth muscles, some in your arteries, your aorta. Okay, and some of your intestines here.
And what is this here?
This is your bladder.
The bladder, this is the size?
It is really that small. You can hardly believe that you can drink an entire beer and hold it all in that thing.
It can't be more than 2, maybe 2.5 inches vertically, and maybe 1.5 inches across. And
sure,
this is it. And this is not a child's bladder.
It looks maybe about 1 inch deep, when you say, yeah.
And about 1 inch thick. Yeah. Is this a child's bladder?
No, this is an adult bladder. This is an adult bladder. Now, of course, it's something that it can expand, obviously. But and expand quite a bit. But it looks so small when you look at it from this point of view.
Wow, holy cow, you expected everything, but we only have so much room in our body. Okay, and another sign over here, I don't know what I should call this, quotes or just...
Well, we call them quotes, we call them fast facts on the walls, we call them Didactics, I think, is one of our favorite terms, all the didactics on the walls.
Didactics?
Yeah.
Okay, here's a didactic right here for you. Muscular. More than 600 muscles line and wrap nearly every square inch of the body. We certainly hope so. Every bodily movement and function, from breathing and digestion to running at top speed, depends upon the muscular system. Okay, so from here on in, it's didactics. Okay, back to work here. We're at another case.
So yeah, we're looking at a case that's dedicated to the foot and ankle. We have a skeletal example, and we have another example that adds just a few muscles, and then we have an example that adds a lot more muscles. So once again, you can see some of this reflexology that I was talking about here on the bottom of the foot.
And this really works. I guess it's applying pressure, it relieves.
Yeah, it really works for some people. Now, there's other people.
Why not for all people?
Well, I don't know. I guess there's some people who don't believe in it, and if you don't believe in something, it's not going to work for you for the most part. You know.
The mind is a terrible thing to have.
It is. It's scary, but you can heal yourself, you know. Now, I like this example here. You can see just a little bit of the muscles, not so much of it. You can still see the bones underneath there. You see the tibia and the fibula. We actually have a nice example of a nice tibia that you can hold at the end of the tour. We actually have an interactive desk where you can hold several specimens.
Wonderful. Okay.
Yeah, so you can actually touch things.
I want to clarify one thing, if we can move over here. Now, the Achilles tendon, that's it. And I'm looking at the ligaments over here, and there's a spur kind of sticking up.
Yeah.
It's like a hook, kind of like a hook. Is that the Achilles?
That is your Achilles tendon.
That is the Achilles tendon. Okay, so it isn't what it's attached to. That is the actual tendon. And if that is cut, that's pretty much the end of it. Although you never know. Sports medicine is a wonderful thing.
It is a wonderful thing, yeah.
So you never know. That back, okay, muscle of the top of the foot. So we're looking at the top of the foot here. And these are all real. None of this is.
No, absolutely not.
I'm listening to my cell phone, and I'm going to be forced, and I shouldn't have a cell phone in here, but I'm going to shut it down, whoever it is. So, folks, talk about dedication. I meant to shut it down.
Let's move to this case over here.
Okay. Did we miss anything over there? Oh, I asked if this were real, and you said
these kind of go together. The foot and ankle. This is the hand and wrist, and you can kind of see the similarities between the two displays. Where you have one that's purely skeletal, and one they add just a little bit of cartilage and muscle, and then they add a lot more muscle, and even a few veins and arteries, as you can see, coming through here.
So it's kind of progressive as you go around the case over here. You go to and then by the time you get over there, it's kind of like again, there's no skin here. We're not talking skin. There's no skin anywhere to be found.
Yeah, no, very few of our specimens have any skin on them. We have one that has all of its skin, and we have another one that has sort of its skin in stripes, but otherwise most of them have their skin removed, of course, so we can see inside, we can see underneath, see what lies beneath.
How did you come here? How did you wind up
How did I come here?
I mean, how did you... Oh.
So we're going to move on to the nervous system gallery, but as you exit here, you'll see just a few things that are sort of interesting, I think, interesting little kind of fast facts more.
Didactics?
Didactics. Now these I more call little fast facts, because some of our didactics are kind of really straight up information, and these are kind of little things that I think are interesting, kind of trivial information that are to just kind of pique the crowd's interest.
Okay, well, the body's smallest muscles are found. Folks, you can use all this at any party you wish. It's not copyright, and we won't copyright this stuff. The body's smallest muscles are found in the ears. Humans have the most evolved facial muscles of all mammals. Cramps are involuntary contractions of skeletal muscles that do not relax. Again, I asked you before, have you been traveling with this? How did you
No, actually, I came here, I live here in New York, and I was working as a freelance writer and teacher, and I came to this job, and I got hired, and I'm the education coordinator here, so. Among my duties here are, of course, reaching out to schools and bringing in school groups, setting up lectures. I do a lecture here every month, and other sorts of events like that to keep the buzz going.
You had mentioned you're an educator, so you were the guy.
Yeah.
You're the guy to.
Let me bring you over here. I want to show you. These are the only. We're in the nervous system gallery now, and these are the only real eyeballs in the entire gallery. Now you can see why we gave them glass eyeballs. You see how eyeballs, when you try to preserve them, I mean they're of course fully preserved, but they just don't look very attractive.
And what is
we
it?
can-
Is that that's the skull? That's not the brain, though. That's
No, this is the brain, and this is the meninge over it. This is the dura mater, what they call the dura mater. And this is the entire spinal cord all the way going down. This is the sciatic nerve that I was showing you going all the way down. See?
okay. And now, how old is this part? Do we know how old this part is?
I
This is
wouldn't
a
know
young
how old this
person?
I wouldn't know how old this person is. This is not the entire body.
It's not the
obviously.
entire body, of
Yeah.
course, but it seems very miniature, you know,
Yeah.
perhaps it's shrunk. What is the color look? This is the color of the actual,
It is the color. Well, the actual color in the body would probably be a little bit different. Like I was telling you earlier, a lot of the color is going to run out of your body, and we really only added color to the muscles.
and what color would it? It's sort of like a brownish red.
Sort of a brownish red color, and same thing with the eyes. The eyes are kind of a brown, kind of a hazy brown color. The entire eye, even the iris and the whole eye. So you can see that, they didn't look very pretty. We wanted to make the bodies as easy on the eyes as possible. So yeah, we gave them gloss eyeballs.
Okay, and the central, here's a didactic. The central nervous system consists of the brain and spinal cord. The peripheral nervous system contains all other nerves in the body.
Interesting little specimen here. This is one of my favorite. You can see the cerebrum with the hippocampus.
With what?
I'm sorry.
With the hydrocephalus?
Yes, I'm sorry. The hydrocephalus, the hippocampus, is this one over here. Isn't that right? Hydrocephalus.
What would be what is a hydrocephalus?
Jeez, I don't know. I thought this is a different. What is this? I don't know. I'm not going to say.
Okay.
I don't want to guess.
We're looking at the brain stem and cerebrum.
Yes, the cerebrum. Yes.
Cerebrum. Okay. And this is, by the way, this is that thing we were talking about. So when you get to this, when you have that
Punch it in, it'll give you a lot more
punch it in the
information.
251, 251, and it kind of fills you in. So as you're walking, you're listening to the piece, and it's explaining everything as you go. So you're not left by yourself on this thing.
No, you're not. Now you can see, and I think this is an interesting cut that they cut right here, so you can kind of see into the brain. You can see how the brain actually has 4 little compartments. Ventricles is what they call them, the lateral ventricle.
Most of us.
Yes. Is going to hold this cerebral spinal fluid, which is mostly responsible for, removing like cellular waste and stuff like that from your nervous system.
And it's the internal nuclei.
Yes. Yes.
Internal nuclei. And often, you get to learn about your system when you stub your toe. If you hurt your hand, you get that pain right away. If you stub your toe, it takes a moment, but you know it's coming. You know the pain is coming, but it takes a while to get to the brain. So it takes longer to travel, so the pain comes later.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Now this is a real interesting specimen right here. This guy, this is I think they call it the mid-sagittal
section of the
basically what they've done is they've cut out the middle section of the brain, right down the middle, right down the brain stem, right in the middle. You can see right here, this is the corpus callosum, which is a little kind of bridge over the creek that it connects the 2 hemispheres of your brain right here. It allows them to communicate with each other. It comes all the way down to the brain stem right here, and eventually goes down to the spinal cord. So of course in this nervous system you're going to see an awful lot about the brain and about the spinal cord and things like that. And I think to get this kind of dissection right here is very difficult. Very nice dissection here work. Very nice work.
And again, the doctor's name, this is the same person?
Yes, Dr. Shui, yes.
Dr. Shui, right. Okay, it kind of looks like, what does it look like here?
It kind of looks like a seahorse.
I was going to say a seahorse, mid-sagittal section of brain. So it kind of looks like a seahorse. The tail happening there in the head. Mm-hmm. Wow, holy cow. And then you've got the brain stem. I think we did that. Mm-hmm. Wow, holy cow. So we're coming to it's not Leonard Bernstein.
No, it's definitely not. I think Leonard had better teeth.
Yeah, he's conducting right now, right?
Yeah.
And he's got the baton going there. And it's a creativity and bodily control. So let's kind of move over to the sign a little bit here. And this specimen illustrates the nearly countless number of tasks the brain executes, from the most basic to the highly complex. It monitors our I'm just going to say that again. It monitors our internal organs without our awareness. It oversees the rate at which we grow, and it moves out limbs when we command. And it moves our limbs when we command. At the same time, our brain also gives rise to all our creative efforts and our will to perform them, from visual art to math to conducting a symphony. So this is how it happened for Leonard.
Yeah,
He's conducting a symphony there.
Really nice specimen. You can see that they have actually cut away the midsections of like his little six-pack where his muscles would be, so you can see just beyond his abdomen and into his internal organs there. Now, if you look over here, you can see how they just left the bronchial tubes up here. You can see that he was a smoker, for example.
How do we know that?
You can see all the kind of black tar that's kind of caught up in his bronchial tubes here. And,
Let's move over so I can see that there. You smokers out there.
Can you see that right there? Now, you'll see some examples. Just about every one of our specimens were smokers.
These are the lungs we're looking at. All these specimens, did you say all these specimens were smokers?
Most of them were smokers, yeah. You'll look at them and you'll see that, you can look at their lungs and see that they smoked.
I stopped about 14 years ago.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. So, okay, so yeah, I can see the brownness in there.
Yeah, you see this kind of, kind of black stuff in here.
That's enough to make you want to stop.
Oh, yeah, well, just wait till you see the ones that are completely charred black, and you'll see them in a few galleries, or a few more galleries over here. Now, this is one of our classic guys. He's our thinking man.
The thinker.
Yeah, and I think this is a great specimen for this gallery. The thinking man has a little piece cut out of his brain. You actually see into the center of his brain right
This is the actual brain.
Yes. And he's a thinker who's actually thinking and staring at another brain and
looking at a brain.
Contemplating
in a case.
A brain in a case, yes.
Are these his fingernails?
Yes, all his fingernails are left on.
Wow.
Like I said, we left everything on there. The only things that we really replaced were the eyeballs. Like I said, and you saw those real eyeballs, and you see why we replaced them.
Right. But there's a fascination to the real eyeballs as well.
Yeah.
Brain with meninges?
Yes, this is the meninges. See that?
Meninges. Mm-hmm. And what is that meninges? What does that mean? What is that?
Well, it's a conductive tissue. That is a layer over the brain. It protects the brain. It supplies it with nutrients. And it removes wastes and things like that.
Do you kind of walk through here as people are coming through when it opens, kind of get a reaction? Any kind of watch and see what are people seeing when they come in here?
All the time. All the time. You look at these examples over here. This is actually pretty cool.
What are reactions from amazement to, is there any?
From amazement, I get some folks who are just kind of shocked into wanting to take better care of themselves. Some people are, kind of grossed out, but most people are just amazed by the human body and amazed by the exhibition, and they're just really blown away by the way the body's put together. Because, in this exhibition, you can see everything that, maybe you remember learning about in biology class or what have you back in high school, And that's why we get so many schools in here, because, the teachers come in here and say, well, look, I can teach them, I talk to them until I'm blue in the face, but I come in here and I can, they can see what I'm talking about and see, oh, well, look, there it is right in front of them, so.
Well, my daughter is a Penn State graduate. I hardly graduated any place I ever went to. So my daughter is really strong in biology, so I'm learning all this for the first time right here today with you, Richard. So
yeah, okay, well, that's very interesting. So here we're looking at another example of the brain, and this is the cerebral dura matter, which is completely the brain is surrounded by 3 meninges. This is one of the protective layers that goes over it. Okay. And they've actually just removed it and kept that just in case, just like that, the whole thing.
Now I'm looking at, is there a difference between matter, M-A-T-T-E-R, and M-A-T-E-R? Is there any?
Oh, well, yeah, I guess there is, isn't there?
Yeah, okay, so, and then hippocampus?
Yes, here's your hippocampus. Now, this is what I thought, I was at the wrong case earlier. This is what we're talking about, the hippocampus right here.
Okay. And brain?
Yeah, deep, it's kind of embedded deep in the brain right there. It is, a lot of your early memories and behavior is kind of stored in there.
Well,
and that's
remember,
when Alzheimer's hits, that's one of the first places it hits. That's where it starts, and that's where you start to lose memories and kind of behavioral issues.
I think the brain, when you begin, is kind of there. You don't have all these wrinkles in it. It's a clearer thing. And I think these wrinkles come about because over the years your thoughts and everything being stored. It's kind of like a storage unit.
It is a big storage unit, and it's folded together like this to actually provide more space for storage.
So these aren't wrinkles that are gained through the years. This is how
Well, this is by design. This is by design. If it weren't like this, if your brain were not kind of folded in on top of yourself like this, then you would have a much larger head, basically.
Well,
or a much smaller brain, either one or the other, you know.
So all these wrinkles are pre-designed there. That's and this is the way it was. And where are all these thoughts and memories? They're stored somewhere because everything
somewhere.
you
I
ever
don't know how you get them out now. Yeah.
Right, everything you ever experience is in there. You store everything.
Now this is an interesting specimen. You can see a little bit of atrophy in here. Now you can see how there's a little bit of space between the folds of the brain here. Now if you look at some of another brain, like you look at that one right over there, and you see how tightly packed the folds are over there, and you see how kind of more loosely packed these are here. This guy either had some sort of a degenerative brain disease like an Alzheimer's, or maybe he was an alcoholic, or something that caused him to actually lose brain tissue. So that's why you can see between the folds of the brain a little bit more than you can on a healthy brain. Either that or he was actually very old. You know, he might have died at a much older age, in which case your brain starts to look a little bit like that.
Either that or he coached the...
Coached the Giants.
Coached the Giants.
After last night's game, man.
Holy cow, last night was a nightmare.
Yeah.
It's a good thing my kid hates football, so I didn't get to see the whole thing. It's just an awful exhibition there.
Yeah.
Okay, we're at strokes
of course, unless
now.
you're a Tennessee fan.
Holy cow. Holy moly. Holy smoke.
This is an example of, you can see it's a preserved brain that had a stroke. So you can see like the big black splotch of where the dried blood that was released into the brain.
So a stroke comes about, now this is a cross section, kind of like a sample of it. It's not the, so this is the cross section of the brain. It's been cut, a sliver of it, and you're looking, it almost looks like a flower, kind of, the shape and the blackness.
You can see how it's still the skin. You can see how the skin is still on the skull. So there's a layer of skin, a layer of skull, and then the little space actually around the brain here, and then you see the brain itself, and then of course you see where the stroke affected the brain.
And the stroke is that blood, and that blood coagulated in there?
Yes, that dried blood there.
So blood got in there, and that's how.
Exactly. Yeah, you had some kind of blood vessel rupture.
And that's a stroke. Okay, holy smoke, I understand. Okay, and then we're moving along.
This is one of my favorite galleries, so I can take you all to now, we do have some examples of some cancers, and I think a lot of people can relate to these either because they had a relative who might have had this condition or something like that, and I think a lot of people are appreciative that they can see some things like this. And of course, some of the other things a lot of people get to see, some of the other diseases and pathologies they get to see, and kind of kind of feel connected to it, like, oh, that happened to me, kind of thing. Yes.
So this is the endocrine system. Endocrine. And when I see thyroid cancer over here, and when we first started walking over, I thought I was looking at a chicken drumstick. I said, well, what would a chicken drumstick be doing here? But then I realized is this the thyroid?
Yes, this is your thyroid right here, and you can see this is the throat right here. Thyroid is a gland that's on your throat.
The throat is right there.
This is your throat right here. You see where my finger is?
Right. I get it.
Yes,
okay.
Right here. See.
Okay. The thyroid cancer. I'm going to say it again. Thyroid cancers are generally of two kinds. Those that develop in younger individuals are slower growing and highly treatable. Cancers that develop in older individuals, however, are often more aggressive and can spread quickly beyond the gland, as was the case with this specimen. So it's beyond the... Wow.
Yeah, very good.
And the goiter, here's a goiter here?
Yeah, I was going to show you the goiter, yes.
Okay, let's move on.
Another thyroid condition, a goiter. You can see it's really, this example is pretty scary. This one's a little bit smaller, but this one, can you imagine?
This is the one that would be on the neck?
That must be, what, 5 inches in diameter?
It's in a flattened state, by the way, right now. Is that the way it would be in life, in a flattened state, or is it
No, that's a cross-section of what...
That's a cross, so it's a more bulbous...
It's more of a bulbous, yeah, it'd be a big blur or a big bulge.
And then half brain showing location of pituitary gland. There, the brainstem pituitary gland.
Pituitary gland, yeah, you see it? Yeah.
Wow.
Interesting.
This is pretty amazing stuff. This is a wonderful education today,
I'm
folks.
going to move us into the circulatory gallery. Now, this specimen is actually pretty cool. You can see a lot of. This is actually a very meticulous dissection. You can see how he removed the majority of tissue so you can just expose the nerves here. And this guy is mostly nerves. You can see all of his nerves coming down in here from his neck. You see this? All down into his hand. You can see once again, his sciatic nerve breaking off and all the little branches all the way down to the bottom of the leg. Really amazing.
Again, are all these men?
The majority of them are men.
Again, these are all short of stature, probably no more than 5'8". I don't think I've seen anybody more than 5 foot.
No, most of them are pretty short. I probably have a couple of 6-footers, I think, but that's probably about as high as I get.
Why more men than women?
Well, there's a couple of statistics, and one of them happens to be the majority of unclaimed bodies are men.
I would have thought I would have seen a female by now. So.
Yeah. Well, we have some. We have a couple in the later galleries.
And so more men are left unclaimed?
Unclaimed than women, yes, exactly. So, it's kind of like it wasn't by design. This is one of our most frequently asked questions of why there's so many men or where all the women are, things like that. And of course, it's not by design. We wish we had more women here in the galleries, but that's just what was available to us.
So more men are left unclaimed.
Running Man is one of our more stunning, I think, specimens, just by the way he's almost seems to be running right out of his muscles. He's
in a severe lean kind of thing, in a running kind of, almost like he's just coming out of the blocks.
Exactly, like he's just out of the blocks and he's just starting off, and his muscles are sort of flayed. If you look over here,
his left hand is outstretched. He's got his right hand behind.
Right over here, all of his muscles have been flayed just a little bit and peeled back, so you can see what lies behind each muscle. See how each one's connected and each one's a limp or what have you.
And the sciatic nerve comes from just around the maximum glutamus. Would that be correct?
Yeah, I would say.
And it comes down and it ends right
all
at
the
the
way
heel.
down here. Now look, I'll show you. Now there's a lot of people who are into something called reflexology, where you have a lot of nerve endings, a lot in your ears, and a lot in the bottom of your foot as well. And if you look at the bottom of this foot, you can see all these nerve endings right here. And each one, like people who are in the know of what this reflexology does and how to work it, they can push on this and say, okay, we're going to affect your liver on this one over here, and this one's going to, help you, digest a little better and things.
Everywhere. We're at South Street Seaport in New York City. We're at Bodies.The Exhibition, and our host and guide is
Richard Hinojosa.
Richard Hinojosa, and we are these programs are being made available exclusively through the Library of Congress, National Library Service for the Blind and Physically Handicapped. They will be mastered down and sent on to your libraries for your enjoyment. Let's take a quick break. I'm going to check my tape, turn it over, and then we'll be right back. Okay, we're back on tape. Obviously, the sound is great. Richard, you're sounding great. Everything is wonderful. It's great ambience here. Great
light layered on top of the other like that.
And this, going back to the Achilles tendon, why is this so huge? Is this the Achilles tendon?
This is the Achilles tendon right here, down over here. Now this is actually a very interesting thing.
Oh, so the Achilles tendon is not the...
No, it's not the entire calf muscle. It's just what it's connected to.
I see. So I've been describing it wrong then. Okay. So
yeah. Now you see this right here. This is your sciatic nerve running down right here. This is a very, very important nerve.
To ligaments or what? Well.
Yeah, no, this is a nerve ending actually, and this is the thing, gives a lot of people a lot of problems.
And coming through
so a lot
here.
of people who come through here is like, that's why I have it's like that. So they can push on each one of these things. And
they're sort of like threads. Mm-hmm. You're looking at threads, so whatever they apply pressure to.
Yeah, and they're all bundled here in the bottom of the foot like that.
So reflexology is the real deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting thing. I think a lot of people subscribe to it because it's something that works for them. It's in their head that it works. So I think that's one of the important things.
Okay, we're going to take a really quick break. We're going to take a really quick break right now. I'm just going to check my sound, and then we'll be right. I'm going to turn the tape over, and then we'll be right back. Again, you're listening to Visions, a series of visits to almost